Before we start. First of all, good morning on behalf of the Discover BCS National Championship game. Just a reminder today, if those of you who haven't picked up media credentials, do so upstairs, one level above us. We've got lunch today from 12 to 2 and dinner tonight from 6 to 8 outside on the terrace as we did last night. Looking ahead relative to your media day plans for tomorrow at Sun Life Stadium, there will be a full breakfast served from 7 to 9 upstairs in the media hospitality area. Buses for tomorrow will leave at 8:15 with the press conferences starting at 9:30. Just also a reminder today that 10 o'clock ESPN will hold a press conference here with Desmond Howard and David Pollack. They'll be right upstairs on the dais. Practice today for Notre Dame, 11:15. If this is your last opportunity to get B-roll and photos at practice, first 15 minutes, those buses will leave at 10:30. So please plan appropriately, and that's at Nova Southeastern University. If you're going to go to the Alabama sessions, their practice begins at 12:45, and the bus will leave at noon. I'd like to acknowledge, as always, the Orange Bowl Committee representatives in our audience today. Appreciate their help and their ambassadorship throughout the week. So we'll go ahead and get started. Here in the main room today, we have offensive coordinator Chuck Martin and quarterback Everett Golson. Next door, going on concurrently for those of you who want to move back and forth, the Notre Dame student athletes over there are Zach Martin, Tyler Eford, Theo Reddick, and TJ Jones. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Please put your hands up and we'll rotate the mics, try to keep things moving as quick as possible. So microphone holders.
Chuck, over here, that Alabama runs a 3-4 defense. They call that their base, but Nick Saban acknowledges that they're only in that about 20% of the time. Does that mean you have to prepare for 2 defenses, 3 defenses, nickel, dime, and regular, and how complicated is that?
Yeah, they're pretty diverse on defense. They use their 3-down and 4-down packages, much like our defense uses our 3-down and 4-down packages. That was one of the nice things over the last month, has been that similar fronts that Alabama uses, same fronts that Coach Diaco uses on our defense. So when you go against your starters, a lot of times it's good work because you're getting speed on speed and big guys on big guys, but the schemes are completely different. Where the nice thing preparing, and I'm sure they felt the same way, the nice thing preparing for us is the fronts that both teams use, although multiple, it has helped us prepare because we've got to see those every day in practice.
Is a quick snap the way to attack that and limit their substitutions?
I think at times you can get them, but they've been caught maybe a few times, but it seems like every time they get caught out of position before the snap. I think one time Mississippi State hit them on a quick little hole shot when they weren't ready, but every other time it looked like they weren't ready. They snapped the ball and their team got no yards. So it seems like a good idea when they're subbing to try to get them on their heels, but they typically just get off blocks and run and make plays anyway. So I'm not sure if that's the way to go.
Hey Chuck, Charlie McCarthy, Fox Sports Florida. Could you talk about Everett's development, how much he's come along this year, and also was there a game or a play that he performed and you looked at it and said, he gets what we want, he's doing what we want?
I think it's just been steady improvement as the year's gone on, and the nice thing for him, the difficult thing, but the nice thing for him is he got thrown in the fire right away. You know, when you come out and you play 3 Big Ten teams your first 4 games and two or three huge rivals your first 4 games, he didn't get to ease into this thing like some young quarterbacks do, so he got put in a bunch of different situations. But I think it's just been steady progress based on getting out there, getting game experience, learning what we're trying to do offensively at the same time, and then just kind of a steady progression. I'd say for me, where it looked like from the box that he was really starting to get comfortable out there was Oklahoma, you know, and not so much based on play and performance, but just based on watching him take the field and watching him direct our offense. It's like, okay, he looks comfortable. I don't know how he is on the inside. You have to ask him. But to me, it really looked like, okay, he's not worried about too much. He's just kind of running the show out there.
Tom D'Angelo, Palm Beach Post. Everett, what was you talked last year about how being put back on the scout team in retrospect, was good for you. Talk about that period and how that helped your development.
Oh, well, I think me being put back on the scout team, it was just really a humbling experience for me. Coming in, I thought I, was ready to play. I had that confidence that I was ready to play, but it wasn't that way for me. I think being put back on the scout team, like I said, really humbled me and made me kind of reassess myself.
Chuck, Everett, I think in the beginning wasn't loud enough, and then he kind of went over the top. He talked about that last month at the media day. Describe how he's become just a better communicator, I guess.
Yeah, just everything he does. There's so much going on the field with the way defenses, like he was talking about, the defenses change so much. And then in our offense, it's pretty sophisticated. There's a lot of communication, both verbally and non-verbally, that needs to go on all the time. It's just nonstop. So just him getting used to that being on his plate and how to handle it with his offensive lineman, how to communicate with his receivers, and understanding that a little hand signal that's misunderstood can derail the whole play and derail the whole team at that moment. So just different for him than probably what he was used to, our communication system versus what maybe he was used to in high school. And then particularly this year, the amount of checks he does at the line, both run game, pass game protections. So he's got a lot on his plate, and just, I think earlier in the year he had it in his head, but it maybe not got all the way through the ranks all the time. And now, obviously, if you've watched us the last quarter of the year, at times we're pretty smooth flowing outfit out there.
Everett, I was just curious, is there a reason or a story behind why you wear the number 5?
No, not really. I just always wore it, from like JV in high school. So.
Hey, Everett, Alan Blondin with the Sun News in Myrtle Beach. You ever wonder how things might have been different had you kept your commitment to North Carolina and gone there instead?
I often do sometimes, but I think, me praying about it has helped me to make the right decision. And to be honest, it wasn't all perfect, when I was, when I first came in, but just enduring through, the adversity, I think I've made the right decision.
Len Robbins, New York Post, for both player and coach in the center here. For the past 5 weeks, your offensive line has heard that Alabama might have the best offensive line of all time, possibly, or in 20 years. Do you get any kind of a sense that they want to make a statement? And again, from both of your points of view, particularly you, Everett, what do you see when you're behind them?
To me? Well, I think, not only our offensive line, but I think we as a team want to, kind of make a statement. Being that we were always counted out from the beginning of the year up until now, we definitely want to make a statement. But, you talk about me being behind the offensive line. For me, it's been a growing process as far as taking control back there and, just kind of communicating with them. And, them on the other side just, building that confidence in me. So it's been tremendous to have a great offensive line like I do.
And I'd say our offensive line is much more concerned with Alabama's very good defensive line than they are anything written about. I would say they probably don't know a whole lot about what's been written about Alabama's offensive line because they've got their own set of issues with dealing with the other big boys on the other side of the ball.
Good morning, Everett. Tim Reynolds of the Associated Press here in Miami. 2 questions, and they're both about the gap between games. One, how concerned are you that, just from a rhythm standpoint, I mean, obviously a bowl game, there's always a layoff for everybody, but this is particularly long, of course, for you guys. And secondly, over these 6 weeks, how have you not let the enormity of you could be a national champion quarterback at Notre Dame, how have you not let that totally consume you?
Well, I think you just don't look ahead. We still have to prepare, and I think that's what has consumed me thus far, is just really preparing and, just really, watching film, breaking down film on Alabama. So that's my main focus.
Tom Rinaldi with ESPN for Everett and for Chuck. Everett, start with you. When a pocket breaks down and you can extend a play in that film study of Alabama, what have you seen that you think becomes vulnerable or becomes an opportunity against their defense?
Well, I think it's tough. They have a great defense. So, and like I said earlier, they play their responsibilities. So it's going to be hard for us to, kind of exploit their defense. But, I'm sure, just, my ability to improvise and, the guys around me ability to improvise will, kind of work something out.
Matt Fortuna, ESPN.com. Everett, what's the reception been like back home at Myrtle Beach for you?
Say that one more time.
What's the reception been like back home at Myrtle Beach for you when you went back for a break?
It's been great. It's been great. Going back home for a couple of days, had a chance to see a lot of people, and they were just giving me a lot of encouraging words. So it's been great.
Everett, you're right. I was just curious, what's your relationship with Manti Te'o being, I presume you're the leader of the offense and he's the leader of the defense, and you guys communicate and how you kind of want to go forward into this game?
Well, I think me and Manti's relationship grew tremendously this season. And I think one point in the season that really emphasized that was the Oklahoma game. We came in at halftime, and I could remember him coming over to me and was like, we got you. We're going to take care of our part. We got you. Whatever you do, we got you. So just having him and having a defensive player just, kind of, encouraging me like that has helped me out a lot. It made me more confident and more comfortable.
Chuck, with this long layoff, were you able to, I know you guys do a lot of self-analysis of what happened during the season, and really red zone offense was kind of one of the major hang-ups going all the way through 12 games. How do you kind of approach that, especially considering that Alabama's red zone defense probably isn't the one to get healthy against?
Yeah, they're really not. They're not the one to get healthy again. We looked at our run game. They're not really healthier to get there either. So, no, we looked at all parts, and obviously the red zone, and particularly since they don't give up many opportunities. Unfortunately, you're trying to study the opposing's tape, and there's just not a lot of clips of teams getting down there. In the few clips when teams get inside their 10, so you can really try to game plan and organize a good plan. The score is typically like 48-0, and there's none of the starters on the field for Alabama, so it's hard to game plan against what they do late in the game when they're up by 50 points. So that's the other task for them, is you're trying to see how you can attack them and what they're going to do against you or certain formations, and they've got their backups in, and they're just kind of finishing out the game. So. But I think for us, it's like any other part of the field. It's execution. It's playing physical. It's in the run game, carving out some space for our running backs, and then obviously in the pass game, giving Everett some time, and then him making sure he figures out the coverage and where to get the ball and put the ball in the right place. So I don't think there'll be issues structurally for opportunities to make plays, but they're a difficult defense, like you alluded to, difficult defense to get the ball in against.
Chuck, I believe the only other freshman quarterback to win a national championship was Jamel Holloway. Everett doesn't remember him. What do you remember about him? And if you had anyone like that in your career, a freshman besides Everett, that you had to get ready to win?
Yeah, no, I remember Jamel Holloway, and that he was very difficult to tackle. That's what I remember about him, that if he had the ball in his hands, it was hard to get him down. So, no, the only time I've been part of it was coaches last year at Grand Valley State. We had a freshman quarterback and won the national title. And I would say the year was very similar to this year as far as a young guy growing up on the job. And by the time he got the national championship game, he was a lot different player than he was when he ran out in Dublin, Ireland against Navy. So it's very, very similar from that. Not similar style quarterbacks, but very similar of watching a young kid grow up and really, really become a great player right in front of your eyes. So it's very, very, very similar to that situation. Cullen Finnerty. So, and then he went on to win 3. So we're hoping that history repeats itself. This is everybody's worried about the next one. We're trying to make this a first of 3, actually. So.
Chuck?
No, I thought that was coming out today, huh? You guys are all nervous. You're way too short-mindedness with your thinking, Trying to think big picture here.
Everett, I don't know if anybody's mentioned this to you, but there's been talk of you haven't been on this big a stage yet. Can you talk about how big the stage is, just being the quarterback at Notre Dame? And Coach, could you talk about what maybe he's seen so far that might prepare him for this kind of pressure game?
Well, I think, like you said, it is a big stage, but I think, the person that I am doesn't really, I'll also say, like, I don't ride the wave too much, so I don't, I'm kind of just, focused on, what was played between, the yard lines or, what's played on the field. Can't really focus on, everything that's off the field because that's, out of my control.
I'd say just for him, our schedule, first ever college game in Dublin, Ireland. Yeah, first ever home game against Purdue, road game primetime Michigan State, night game at Notre Dame against Michigan, on the road at Oklahoma, on the road at USC, coming off the bench, doing all the things that he's been through. He's about as battle tested. Take any other quarterback this year and try to figure out if they've gone through as much as Everett Golson. To me, it's not even close. It's not even close. If you look at game by game, and for our football team, we're pretty battle tested. I don't know if we're good enough to beat Alabama, but if we're good enough to beat Alabama, I think our kids have shown that they're a pretty resilient bunch, and they're pretty battle tested, whether it be home or away. And they've been told 12 straight weeks that they weren't good enough to get this far, and somehow we're sitting in front of you guys answering questions. So he's pretty battle tested.
Chuck, over here, Eric Hansen, South Bend Tribune. Last spring you mentioned that Coach Kelly had always been one of the most hands-on coaches in America, and he really wanted to get back to that in his third year. Can you talk about how that played out? And Everett, also same from your perspective, Coach Kelly's role in your development and being hands-on.
I just think it's been an interesting process this year. I think I would say it's kind of morphed from a time where spring he was very hands-on to where now he kind of likes the way things look out there, and he's probably a little more back to being a little more big picture. So I think he was bound and determined to get some things corrected on offense, i.e. turnovers for the most part, and was really bound and determined to that in the spring. And then I think he had a new offensive staff, and he had some new players, including a new quarterback. I think once everybody settled in, I think he's a little bit more back to just kind of running the whole outfit, which he's pretty good at.
And I think for me, talking about coming, from the spring, one of my main focuses, or one of his main focuses for me was the mechanics of being a quarterback. I think, he's helped me out a lot with that. And I've shown progression, from the start of the season until now.
Everett, Coach said earlier that he felt like it was the Oklahoma game when things began to come together for you. When do you feel like it was when you began to really feel comfortable out there? And compare how you feel now to how you felt at the beginning of the year.
Well, for me, I think it was, I would think it's probably the Miami game for me. Just going through, kind of what I've been through, and then coming back and, just trying to, help this team be successful. It was I think that built a little bit of confidence in me. And I think what was instilled in me there showed in the Oklahoma game and the Pitt game.
Everett, kind of building off that a little bit, I mean, when you got named the starter, you were joking that it was easier for you to go out and practice than it was to talk to the media. You're kind of sweating during that press conference. When did you kind of get comfortable with the spotlight, the attention, and just kind of all the focus on you as a quarterback at Notre Dame?
Well, I think, having that from the beginning of the season, I kind of had to. I can remember the first time, being.
You can still tell me you're more comfortable out there playing than talking these yahoos, all right?
But nah, the first time, it was a little, I think, nerve-wracking for me, but, I've calmed down a lot. So.
Chuck, Len Robbins right down the middle here, New York Post. If I say to you Theo Riddick, what's the first thing that pops into your head?
Pound for pound, as good a football player as they make.
C.R. Wood.
C.R. Wood, explosive athlete.
Atkinson.
Really explosive athlete.
Okay, so take me behind, if you can, like into the war room. When you guys know you have these three backs, how did you guys go about determining how you would maximize the three of them?
Just based on what they do well day to day. You know, we spend obviously tons of time practicing, and you know, they all get opportunities to run all our plays, and then you try to slot the guys in positions where you know they can help the team the most. So whether it be inside run, outside runs, pass blocking, receiving, different routes, even different style of runs, we try to utilize, you know, all their strengths. The truth be told, they all could be a feature back. They all could do all the things. So everybody's like, well, what, you know, he plays more. What's wrong with him? I'm like, there's nothing wrong with any of the three. George, we'd like to get George 20 carries a game, but there's one football. And, you know, me and Coach had a discussion of the year. It's like, well, we got to get George more touches. I'm like, okay, I'm with you. We got to run more plays because whose touches do we want to take away? We don't want to take away any of the three. So it's a credit to all three of them that they've stuck with it and, you know, prepared hard every week. And some weeks they've got more touches, but that's the nature of the beast. But we're very fortunate to have three talented kids at that position.
Everett, David Pascal from the Chattanooga Times Free Press. Can you just talk about being from SEC territory? How did you pick Notre Dame? And when you go back home, how much do you hear about SEC football and the 6 national championships in a row? And do you ever get tired of hearing about the SEC?
Well, being that I am from the South, you know, you kind of hear about the SEC schools a lot. I remember I used to get questioned, you know, why didn't you go to South Carolina or, you know, any other SEC school? But, you know, like I said earlier, you know, God has a plan for me. I feel that, you know, I'm at the right place, and that's why I chose Notre Dame.
Everett, John Blauvelt, Penn State, John Curley, Center for Sports Journalism. How does it make you feel to be a part of such a great storied tradition that you guys have there at Notre Dame?
Oh, tremendous, tremendous. You know, just you know, being a part of, you know, even with this team, just a great group of guys. Like I do, you know, have the opportunity to play with. Is just tremendous for me. So it's a good feeling.
Chuck, Greg DeWalt from the Times Daily in Florence, Alabama. Could you just talk a little bit about your time at Grand Valley and coming to Muscle Shoals and playing for the national championship several times and how it is different here on this stage?
One, it was awesome every time we went down there. It was, as you know, we couldn't have enjoyed our experiences down there anymore. It became a home away from home for us. Not much different. I know it's a bigger stage. There's more people in the press room. There's more fans running around, but it's the same deal. You start preparing in January, and all the time and energy that the players go through, and everything you watch them do from on the field, off the field, to summertime, to fall camp, to all the games, and it's all about trying to get to this moment where next Tuesday we turn our equipment in no matter what. We always talked about that, you know, it's like we want to play till we're the last day you can turn your equipment in, and obviously we're doing that at Notre Dame this year. So to me it's very, very similar. It doesn't feel any different. I know everybody says, well, it's a bigger stage. It's not. It's a football game, and it's a national championship game, and fortunately for me it's 7 times in 12 years we got to go try to win it all. So it's been a good time. More fun than we should be allowed to have, actually.
Everett, Charlie McCarthy, Fox Sports Florida. Did you work out with the receivers at all in the summertime? And if not, how long did it take you to get comfortable, especially with Tyler? And on another note, when Pittsburgh was lining up for the field goal and then missed it, how far did your emotions swing?
Well, like I said, I'm not really the person to ride the wave. You know, definitely you're hoping and praying, you know, that, you know, he does miss it, so we'll have an opportunity to come down and win it. But, you know, like I said, you know, you talk about, you know, working out with our wide receivers. I think that's been the emphasis for me. And just for me, it was really just, you know, trying to gain their trust and, you know, showing them that I could get the ball to them, and, you know, just getting our timing down and stuff like that. So, you know, it's been good.
We're still working on it with Tyler, just so you know. We got practice. We're gonna try to get a little better at this afternoon. So.
Hey Everett, do you still play piano, drums, keyboards, and mixed music? And how accessible is that stuff to you on campus? And how big a role does that play in your life, be it a break from football?
Well, I think music is like my outlet. and you talk about how accessible it is. It's very accessible for me because I actually have a keyboard in my room. So there's many times where I'll come from practice or, come from class, and I'll just, sit down and play. And like I said, it's, more so of my outlet. Kind of lets me get away from what's actually going on or, what I'm actually doing.
Chuck, Jay Stankovic, CSNChicago.com. You mentioned back in August kind of this great unknown going into the season. You had never really seen, obviously, Everett playing a game. Now you're 12 games in. Is the national championship almost that same kind of great unknown that Navy was, just that none of these players have been in this situation before?
Yeah, it is. They'll realize pretty quickly it's like any other game. I'd say the first series isn't. The first series they'll realize the enormity of the moment when they go out there. But once those big guys start chasing them around, kind of instincts take over. Like, I guarantee you the first time he draws back, he won't be thinking that this is a national championship game. He'll be thinking, man, I got to find a window to throw the ball and make sure one of these guys. So that's the biggest thing from Coach being in some games and me being in a bunch of them, just trying to impart on them what's it going to be like when you go out there, and they want it to be something it isn't. It's just a game. Whoever executes better is going to win the game. Whoever doesn't turn a ball over, whoever can throw it over the other team's head, that's who's going to win the game. It has nothing to do with the 43 days or all the things that we try to make out. How's a game going to be determined? Execution is going to determine this game just like it determines every other football game. So got to keep that in mind.
Chuck, Keith Arnold, NBCSports.com. Question for you on your transition. Obviously, you went from being a safeties coach to running the offense, and an offense that lost Michael Floyd and had to replace some pieces. What was that process like for you, and what made you confident that you could be a guy that could go from being a position coach on the defensive side of the ball to running the offense?
The confidence part comes from doing it before, earlier in my career when I spent 12 years on defense and moved to offense. When I didn't know anything about it, really. I thought I did. Once you're the head coach, you can pretend you know something about anything. So doing that transition before from going from one side of the ball to the other, and then being here for a couple years and thinking that we had a good plan for how this team could win games. We didn't go over there and just say, well, what are we going to do now? And there's a lot of discussions involved in how can we win at Notre Dame? What's the right model to win at Notre Dame? And what's the right model to win this football team? So the nice thing we've done, we've kind of stuck with the plan. It's been a grind for everyone involved at times, and it's been a process. But what we set out to do, probably did a couple years before we thought we were capable, but having some talented players like the ones in these rooms certainly help out. But just doing it before, going from defense to offense, and then having the familiarity with our program and our kids and saying this is how Notre Dame's going to get back on top. This is how they're going to win football games.
Everett and Chuck, also talk about any pregame traditions that you have or rituals or anything you see in the locker room, anything interesting that you guys see as you prep minutes up to the game.
I don't think it's, for me, I know personally it's not, I don't really have any pregame rituals. I think, maybe the only thing is, I sing a little bit, and, some of the guys will sing a little bit too, but, we're mostly focused for the most part, just focused on the tasks that we have ahead.
Yeah, I've got no superstitions, zero. Everybody wants to find them. I said, actually have one. When you walk in the locker room to dress your guys, there's a lot of really good players in there. That's my superstition. So if you go in there and you look and you go, oh, that quarterback, that Everett Golson, he's a pretty good player. So other than that, we try not to do anything the same way twice, because then we can never be off schedule. We can never, we didn't put our socks on the right way today. There's a lot of things that can creep in your mind and help you lose a game. We try to stay away from those.
Everett, you spoke a few minutes ago about not riding the wave, particularly in that Pitt game. For those of us who weren't there, what was that wave like when that Pitt game was over?
It was tremendous. It was, a real enjoyable time just for, the Notre Dame community. You talk about the game. I think, certain situations that was in that game, allowed for me not to, unless, my confidence would have been shot, talking about me, me throwing that pick, late in the game. if I would have got down on myself or, not believed, we, wouldn't be sitting here today. So I think, me, like I said, me not riding that wave and me just always believing that we were going to win and having that confidence has helped us get to this point right now.
Hi, Edward Jones, Investments.com. Question for both of you. After all the wins, all the victories, all the practice, inevitably there's going to be those two plays. And some of us in the media are going to say, well, there's that victory and the luck of the Irish. Is that something you relish, or is it something that drives you nuts when they declare your victory luck when really it's your talent?
I think in life there's a certain amount of luck in everything that happens every day. So people always wish you good luck, and I always tell them, hey, we'll take all the luck we could get. So people that have been around team sports in general, and particularly football, know that if you prepare the right way and you do the right things all the time, or you try to do things the right way all the time, none of us do it, but we all try to. It seems like those teams get a lot luckier than other teams, So there's certain people that have won a lot of games, and there's certain players that won a lot of games, and the ones that lose never get deemed lucky. So the ones that win are the ones that are always going to get deemed lucky. So we don't mind it too much.
I think for me.
Oh, go ahead, Everett.
I think for me, it's like a combination of luck and preparing. When you said that, I started to think about the Pitt game. We were, somewhat lucky that he missed the field goal, but we were also prepared to, drive down the field and, win for ourselves. So.
The other thing, too, is when you look at games, they remember the last, was Pitt lucky when we fumbled the ball going in with no one touching our tailback? Was Pitt lucky maybe when we had an opportunity to throw an inside vertical in the first quarter, a guy wide open? Remember that play? So there's hundreds of plays that both teams are lucky every week. You guys just tend to pick out one or two that you remember. We remember a lot more than you guys do.
Chuck, Mark Schleybaugh with ESPN.com. Can you talk about T.J. Jones' development as a receiver, and at a place like Notre Dame where tradition seems to matter so much, how much more pressure is there on legacy kids?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more just because everybody talks about why is that kid there? Is he there because he's a good player, because he's the son of a former great Notre Dame player? So you have that burden when you're a legacy kid, which we know is unfair, but I think they get it because they've been around it. Biggest thing from TJ is he's always been an excellent game player. His ball skills are ridiculous. It's hard to throw a ball he won't catch for you. He's a great route runner. He's super quick. He understands the game. He's tough. So he has all the traits. He'd probably love to be 6'5", maybe a little bigger, but that's not how he is. The biggest thing that he's really helped our team is how he practices, because he was probably a little bit known as a gamer and kind of prepared enough to get, but him practicing not only has made him a better player, but probably marginally better because he's always played really good in games for us, but really kind of set the tone for a new receiving group, a young receiving group with Michael leaving and a big void there. He's really set the tone as leadership for our offense of how he practices every day, which is what we're most thankful for him because we knew he could play.
Everett, Jerry Hearn, USA Today Sports. What's the best advice that you've got coming into this game, and where did it come from?
Oh, the best advice.
Better be something I told you.
Let me see. The race is not given to the swift or the strong. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but
I definitely didn't tell him this one.
Yeah, he did. He did. But it's given to the one that endures to the end. Like you said, we're obviously the underdogs coming into this game, but I think that kind of really displays what we're talking about. Going into this game, Alabama has like I said, great defense, great team, bigger, faster, stronger. But it's really about who's going to endure to the end and play hard for 4 quarters.
Chuck, you've got so much experience on both sides of the ball for a long time. Can you remember a time when it has not been about controlling those A and B gaps? In other words, spread option offenses, you still got to run the ball and stop the run up front.
Yeah, no, the game's is a pretty simple game that a lot of coaches and media try to make it more difficult than it is. And no matter what defense that you put together, you're going to put guys in every gap, and when guys aren't in the gap, Alabama's going to take advantage of that. Notre Dame's going to take advantage of that. As big and strong as both front sevens are, if there's somebody not in the gap, air is not very big and strong. So that's what we're trying to. That's what both teams are trying to do: carve out some space in the run game and make sure their team has no space. Obviously, both teams very good offense lines and very good running backs, so you can't give them a lot of room. Both teams' running backs have proved that. You give them a little bit and they'll take a lot. So. It's very simple. It's preparation. It's kids understanding. It's not always your scheme, but it's your kids understanding your scheme is more important than actually the X and O's that you're putting together, and getting your kids to buy in and believe in that it's not about running around like a chicken with your head cut off and trying to make every play. It's about doing your job and being 1/11th of our offense or 1/11th of our defense.
Everett, Liam McHugh, NBC Sports. Earlier you said growing up in South Carolina you heard so much about the SEC, but that you were very happy with your decision to go to Notre Dame. That being said, how much are you looking forward to not just taking on Alabama, but personally taking on the SEC?
Well, I really didn't think of it like that. I just kind of, see it as, not necessarily just the SEC. I see it as another game, or I see it as an opportunity for us to, win the national championship. So I think that's what I take it on as.
Chuck, can you describe how patient you had to be with Everett early on and how he tested it and when you felt like the light went on?
The thing for us with Everett is our confidence never wavered in anything he was going to become. We were just pushing the envelope to how quickly we could get him to the level we knew he could play. So there was never, patience, I guess, is the right word, but in our mind, we never really viewed it as he was our guy, and we knew mentally what he was capable of doing. We knew physically what he was capable of doing, and we knew there was going to be a maturation process like any young player, particularly at the quarterback position at the University of Notre Dame. It's no different anywhere. Just, people want it to happen a day, and he wanted it to happen a day, and so did we, but we were all realistic. We were probably more realistic than him. He probably put more pressure on himself and had higher demands of how quickly he wanted to play at the level we knew he could play. So for us, it was just a matter of keep evaluating day by day where he's at, and right buttons to push, and just getting to know him, because it's hard. It's hard. You put in the offense and you teach him all the, he talked about the technical part of his footwork, and you talk about the reads and all that. And he had all that stuff down a long time ago. Now it was trying to get him to play comfortable and relaxed and communicate and all the other things that go into that position. So it was just a process, and we knew we were going to stick with it. I don't know that he always knew we were going to stick with him, but there was never any doubt in our mind of what he was going to become for us. Yeah, I just thought I thought he looked most comfortable. He says Miami, which makes sense, which was before that, But for me, it wasn't. I already knew, the frustrating for me, because we'd have conversation after things would happen on the field, and he would see it. That's what I was like, dude, did you? Yes. Okay, you saw it. Or he would be telling me, like I would be going to correct something. So, but the comfort level was that he was seeing it, at a very young age. The frustrating thing, he was seeing it and not always reacting to it. So. But I really felt like he, just how he ran on the field at Oklahoma gave our whole team confidence, because he just seemed very comfortable and calm out there. Not that he's always calm, anyone that's talked to him knows, but just his nonverbals on the field were outstanding that night, and I think that's, to me, the night that I really saw the maturation.
Coach, right here, Coach. What specific difficulties have you encountered in game planning for this Alabama defense?
The specific thing is how good they are, because there's certain things that structurally, okay, run game, we should be able to do this. Like if other teams lined up like this, we would run this run play and it would be pretty successful. Now, can we block them? Can we actually execute the block that, and then same thing in the pass game. This looks like it would have a chance for success, but can we get open on that corner, or can we protect the quarterback long enough? So, and then if you get, like most teams, but they're more so than some that we've gone up, if you get to 3rd and long, they throw a lot of stuff at you, and then it becomes more problematic to see what they're doing, and then they do a good job of, if your quarterback checks and they change the defense right after he checks, so what he just checked for is no longer there. So now they do a very good job of when they get you in 3rd and long. I went through the 3rd and longs. They've given up. They've got more fumbles and interceptions and sacks than they've given up first downs on 3rd and 7 plus, which is. So if you want to get demoralized, if you're a Notre Dame fan, watch the Alabama 3rd and 7 plus tape, which we did one morning, and then we called it a day after that because we were all demoralized. So if they just would have punted on 3rd down the whole season, the teams would have been better off against Alabama than actually going for it on 3rd and 7 plus. So they do a very good job in those situations.
You kind of alluded to some of this, but there's this perception that if you give Saban a month plus to prepare for anybody, he'll take any offense apart. How much does that play into changes you may or may not make in a game like this? And how much do you look back even at not just the LSU game, but even the Texas game to see how they might have changed what they do? Both of you.
They kind of do what they do. Obviously, everybody has a little bit of a 3rd down wrinkle, but they've had so much success. You don't anticipate them, other than a wrinkle on a blitz here or there, changing their defense. No one moved the ball against them for as long as I can remember, so why would they change for the University of Notre Dame? If they did change drastically, that would be a heck of a compliment for us. I don't anticipate that happening. So I think structurally we can have some confidence that we know where we're going to get in certain situations, in certain formations, and they have enough in their package that there's enough there to keep you off balance. So, but, both teams have 43 days to prepare, and both teams know what the other teams have done to get here, and both teams know their tendencies. So they know our tendencies pretty well, but we know our tendencies pretty well too. So it'll be fun night when it comes to the chess match part of it.
And Everett, Matt Velasquez with the National Sports Journalism Center. Can you describe your experiences since getting down here to South Florida and how the events leading up to the game have affected your preparation for the game?
Well, I don't think it affected my preparation. It's been a great time being down here in South Beach. But like I said, it hasn't affected my preparation. Partially due to the fact that my preparation didn't start when I got here. It was 43 days, or however many days before this that I've been preparing. So I'm still preparing the same way.
Hey, Everett, I'm Susan Miller-Degnan, Miami Herald. I know that former starter Reese led the winning drive in the opener, and that you didn't start against Miami. I guess you were benched for breaking a team rule or something. But I'm wondering, your relationship with him, has it been awkward at times? Have you been humbled at times during the season? What have you learned from that? And just talk about your relationship.
It hasn't been awkward at all. I think, Tommy Reese being there in the beginning for me has helped me out tremendously, and kind of, helped me to become the player that I am and become more confident, in my play. You talk about, me being pulled out those games. It was for, the betterment of the team. And, at the time, I can honestly say I couldn't see it because, the competitor in me, wanted to be on the field. But the coaches did what was best for the team. And, that's why we're 12-0 today. And like I said, Tommy's been great. He's been nothing but a professional, nothing but a friend to me through this whole process.
Hey, Everett, I don't know how much Coach Martin knows about this, but coming out of high school, you would actually hope to play both college basketball and football. Whatever happened to that? Did you ever even talk to Coach Bray about it? And I know you talked to Coach Williams. If you'd gone to North Carolina, you think there was a chance that that would have happened?
Me and Coach Bray exchanged words, but it wasn't nothing too solid to really stick. Obviously basketball, is my love. That's what I love. But my primary right now is football. So I like to say, I would like to have the chance of playing basketball someday here. But, like I said, football is my primary. And what I'm focused on right now is, the national championship. Well, maybe so. But, you can never say. So.
He's pretty good at his hobby. This being his hobby. Primary love basketball is just what he does on the side. He's also actually pretty decent at.
Jeff Greer from the Palm Beach Post. How much have you guys watched the Texas A&M film, and what did they do so well against Alabama that got them to win that football game?
They got up 21-0 in the first quarter, got a couple of short fields. Their quarterback did a good job improvising on some key snaps in the first quarter and hurt him with his legs. Obviously, a couple huge scrambles, and then obviously an infamous touchdown play that he pulled off. And then the other thing they did is in key third down situations, they had more success against Alabama than probably anyone else. They actually, in some very adverse, made some huge catches right at the sticks and found ways to get first downs. So, and then they made some plays in the fourth quarter. So jumping out, I don't anticipate being up 21-0 in the first quarter, but that would be absolutely nice if that would ever happen. Third downs were key for them, and then their quarterback ad-libbing a little bit, and when things weren't there, he made 3 or 4 plays. So we're planning on him doing the same thing for us. That when we call a lousy play, he just ad-libs a little bit and makes something happen, which he has a tendency to do at times, which we really like.
Chuck, how much harder was it to get the ball to Eifert this year? How did he deal with that? And also, how's his backup Nicholas doing in terms of being an heir apparent to that position?
Yeah, there's no heir apparent to what Tyler can do in the pass game for us, just because even yesterday we threw 3 or 4 balls that I actually stopped, looked away because I knew they were incomplete passes, and then heard somebody yell, "Great catch, Tyler!" I'm like, he caught that one, so his ability to run and catch and his target, being so tall is obviously you're not going to replace it. But Troy's done a great job. He's really been our starting tight end because we moved Tyler all over the place and done an unbelievable job blocking. Our offensive line has gotten a lot of credit for our run game along with our backs, but our tight ends are huge, and Tyler's done a great job blocking, then Troy's done a great job blocking too. So it's harder to get to him this year because he's our go-to guy. When you had Floyd and everybody was doubling Floyd, you got some very favorable matchups with Eifert, and now he is Floyd. So, why don't you throw it to him more in the red zone? I'm like, you got to be Harry Houdini to try to find one-on-one matchups in the red zone for Eifert because you design your whole offense down there, throw it 80, and then there's 2 guys pre-snap lined up over him, and you can't just keep jamming the ball. So we try to find some one-on-one matchups, but it's been very difficult, no doubt.
Chuck, George Schroeder, USA Today. You've been a head coach before, obviously lower level. You have aspirations to do that again at the FBS level, and if so, what sort of is the threshold from going from Notre Dame assistant to head coach at another FBS school? What are the criteria that would say, hey, I've got to jump there?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question. With the threshold meaning what?
It's a pretty good gig, I think, probably being offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. What's the threshold that says, okay, at this point, that's an FBS head coaching job. I've really got to take this one, or do you wait for the perfect gig? Or
yeah, I don't know. I just think the situation, the place, I don't think there's a master plan, and I don't think of it near enough. I'm told all the time about that. I don't. I've been fortunate in my career. I've always believed what my dad taught me: keep your head down and work hard, and it'll all sort itself out. So when I got into this thing way back when, I probably didn't have the pedigree, or I didn't. Typically, you play at a bigger school and you end up starting a little bit higher up, and I went to some great places and kind of mumbled around for a while. So to me, just keep working, keep winning, and opportunities come. You evaluate those opportunities, and if it's the right opportunity for your wife and kids, you do it. If it's not, you won't. And certainly, your point of being the offense coordinator at Notre Dame, there's less jobs that look appealing than, I've gotten some phone calls the last couple of years that 5 years ago I would have pinched myself if they got the call, and I'm scratching my head like, am I really not interested in this? Like, what the heck's the matter with you? So, but it's been a fun journey. I try not to worry about it, otherwise it drive you nuts.
Final 2 questions, one here and one in the back.
Chuck, right over here. A lot of the players in the room said that
you being offensive coordinator, there's been a simplification of things to this year. Why did you think things needed to be simplified, and how did you do that to get this offense moving along when you took over?
Well, I think it starts with the offensive staff being on the same page all the time and walking out to the practice field with a plan, whether it's a good plan or a bad plan. Walk out there with a plan, and then make sure the kids understand the plan and why we're doing the things we're doing. And it becomes simpler for these guys when you're not going with the, you know, the military, you do this because I'm the coach and you say it. And they'll do it because that's how athletes are trained. If you tell them what to do and, hey, shut up and do it, they'll shut up and do it. Just that's how they're wired. But they'll think it's simpler when they understand why you're doing it. Okay, we're running this route versus this coverage, and here is why we're going to do it. And this is why it's going to be successful. And then they look at it, and we're fortunate at Notre Dame. We've got some very, very, very intellectual kids that they want to know the whys. Everett doesn't just want to see a new route and say, okay, well, I'll run it, coach. He wants to know, okay, well, and then he goes and studies tape like he's talked about a bunch, and he looks at the tape and is like, okay, and then if he has questions, he comes back to us like, okay, I know what we're trying to do, but I see this guy's might be here on this, and then we kind of collaborate and work together. So I just think getting our kids to understand the whys and not so much the hows has been a big benefit and something that they take a lot of comfort in.
Frank Holland, WGN News in Chicago. Tell me, do you think there's any weaknesses in this Alabama defense that you can exploit personally, and how does it feel to play in the biggest game of your life?
Is this for me?
I'm not playing, dude. And Notre Dame's, the spread would be a lot higher if I was.
Like we said time and time again, Alabama has a great defense, and there's many things that they do. Talking about switching up from 3 down to 4 down. Simple things like that you have to prepare for, or you have to have an answer to. But for me, it's definitely going to be a great opportunity, just to compete for this national championship. So I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much, Chuck, Everett. Appreciate your time.